Hello everyone, welcome back to my presentation. I'm going to share with you some of my recent findings about the factors affecting early primary grade students' reading performance in Vietnam. In my talk, first I'm going to provide some context of the research questions, the sample, and the reading test. After that, I will briefly present the research results, findings, and conclusions. We all know the importance of reading skills for learning, and that it is the foundation for other learning activities at school. We also know that a child who is behind in reading skills will also be behind in other activities, and this often results in the child's dropping out. But UNESCO's 1914 Global Report highlights that more than 200 million primary school children in the world cannot read. Some international tests show that the average child in underdeveloped and developing countries scores 1/3 those of an average child in developed countries. Most tests are designed for children from grade 4 and up, and they do not tell us exactly whether the children have poor scores because they do not know the contents or because they do not understand the exam papers. This is to say that we know very little about the reading performance of early primary grade children. There is therefore an urgent need to assess their reading skills. This is why I had my research. In this research, I asked two main questions. What is the reading performance of grade 1 and 2 students in Vietnam? And what factors affect their reading performance? Well, different factors may have different effects on children's reading performance. In this presentation, I will talk about two main factors. One is the medium of instruction, and the other is the child's family socio-economic background. I was contracted by the Ministry of Education and Training to conduct the assessment of grade 1 and grade 2 students' reading performance in 2014. The sample consists of 1,079 grade 1 and 1,078 grade 2 students from 72 primary schools in 6 provinces. The schools were chosen to secure representativeness from different socio-economic areas. Please note that in my presentation of the country context, I mentioned that CERQUAP projects where local teaching assistants were hired to help facilitate the teaching of the king teachers and the learning of ethnic minority children in ethnic minority schools. Among the 72 chosen schools, there are 28 Sơ-Quạp schools. Of the 28 Sơ-Quạp schools, 17 schools have a teaching assistants. You can see on these slides some information about students' gender, ethnic groups, and family socio-economic background. Let's talk a little bit about the reading tests that we use to measure students' reading performance. According to international research, to become a good reader, a child needs to have phonemic awareness, meaning the ability to separate or link the sounds. Phonic awareness, meaning the ability to link scripts and sounds. The reading fluency, meaning the speed, the preciseness, and the expressiveness, and the ability to understand concepts and ideas heard or read. The development of Vietnamese text follow the concepts and principles of international reading test, while meeting the grade level standards specified by the national curriculum and reflecting the specific characteristics of the Vietnamese language. The test consists of 8 reading components, as you can see on the slide. Let's now have a look at students' reading scores. The results presented on the slide show a significant gap in reading performance between the King majority and ethnic minority students. The King students in both grades systematically outperform ethnic minority students in all parts of the tests. But the ethnic minority students also differ among themselves. On the slide, you see the results for the 3 biggest ethnic minority groups of students: the Hmong, the Thai, and the Dry students. The data shows that for grade 1, Thai students outperform Hmong and Dry students on all reading sub-skills. In turn, Hmong students also outperform Dry students on all reading sub-skills. This pattern, however, does not hold for grade 2. Although Thai students still outperform Dry students on all sub-skills, they underperform Hmong students on Part 2 and Part 4. Dry students also outperform Hmong students on Part 5 and Part 8. This pattern seems to suggest that the gaps in reading performance among ethnic minority students tend to get smaller as students move up. In this research, we asked if ethnic minority students who learn with a teaching assistants in their classroom would outperform ethnic minority students who learn with only a Vietnamese teacher. As mentioned earlier, only 14 Sơ-Quạp schools have teaching assistants. And this means only 255 grade 1 ethnic minority students, or 44% of all ethnic minority students, have a chance to learn with a teaching assistants in their classrooms. The results show that in both grade 1 and grade 2, ethnic minority students learning in class with a teaching assistance generally outperform ethnic minority students learning in class without a teaching assistance. These findings suggest that the use of Vietnamese language together with the children's mother tongue through the presence of a local teaching assistant really benefits ethnic minority students with limited Vietnamese proficiency. But the positive impact is more obvious in grade 1 than in grade 2. Analysis of qualitative data reveals that a majority of parents, teachers, and education officials interviewed expressed a strong support for the use of ethnic minority language in the classroom. These people were well aware that ethnic minority children faced enormous difficulties when they first entered school because they speak little Vietnamese. A Hmong parent recalled that when her child entered grade 1, she knew only a few Vietnamese words because at home they just spoke Hmong. And this is what a teacher in a Jarai school in Jalai province said about her grade 1 Jarai students. At the beginning of the school year, they know nothing. They do not understand anything. During class, they turn back, turn forward, look very helpless, unable to pay attention. They only understand when we explain things in Jarai. We had to explain everything meticulously. A look at reading scores by students' family socio-economic background also indicates that students from better off families systematically outperform students from poorer families. So, to sum up, my research has highlighted the following main findings. First, students are good at some reading sub-skills such as reading familiar words or reading passage, but poor at other important sub-skills such as reading comprehension and listening comprehension. We suggest, therefore, that curriculum and teaching should pay more attention to these important skills. Teaching and testing should also focus on all components of the reading skills. Second, there are significant gaps in reading performance between the King and the ethnic minority students in all sub-skills. Gaps exist among ethnic minority themselves, but as children move up from grade 1 to grade 2, gaps tend to be narrower. This suggests the role of school in reducing intergroup differences. Based on this finding, we suggest that curriculum and reading standards should be modified to better reflect the current state of reading proficiency of the majority students, especially those from ethnic minority areas. Children from better families, which means they have more learning facilities, also have a better performance than other children, suggesting the importance of home learning environment. Finally, the use of ethnic minority students' language together with Vietnamese language as medium of instruction through the presence of a teaching assistants in ethnic minority classes seems to help improve ethnic minority students' learning outcomes, especially in grade 1. The added value of the presence of a local teaching assistant, among other things, are to build the confidence for ethnic minority students and to increase their joy of learning. The positive impact of the use of a local language and Vietnamese as medium of instruction through a teaching assistance in classes suggests that this could be added to the different forms of bilingual education existing in the country for dealing with the issues of language barriers in ethnic minority schools. Thank you for your attention.